So we have a few guests here today that are going to talk to you about financial management. But to start, I'm just going to introduce Julia Sorcinelli. She works here at WPI, and she's the Director of Outreach in the Office of Women's Programs. And then Julia will introduce the other guests to you. So, Julia.
Hello, everyone. So nice to see you all here. As Terry said, I'm the Outreach Coordinator for Women's Programs in the Office of Multicultural Affairs, and Terry first approached me to lead a session on personal finance and strategy. So I actually ended up collaborating with some colleagues in the financial aid office to get their help and expertise in planning the session, and we thought this would be a great opportunity to invite some of our local bank representatives to campus to talk to you. We really wanted to bring kind of a high level of expertise to you and introduce you to some of our community members. So we do have Rosie here from the financial aid office, and she actually wants to just promote an upcoming event if you're interested in getting more financial literacy help and programming.
So welcome everyone. It's great to see you all. I hope you enjoy your day here today. I'm going to leave a little note paper here with the next event. So anyone who's interested in attending the next financial literacy event, you can get that on the way out. It's going to be on investing, planning now for future success, and it's through Fidelity Investments. So we're going to have a consultant here from Fidelity Investments to talk to you all about how to plan for the future and what things that you want to be keeping in mind too. So hope to see you there. You can register on the information is here where you can register. Thank you.
So without further ado, I would like to introduce our two guests. Today we have Lisa Mills with us and also Jerry Hallis from TD Bank North, a local bank in Worcester. They even have an ATM machine in our campus center. So it's definitely a great opportunity to have them here. They'll be happy to answer your questions and give us some more information about financial literacy and budgeting. So I'd like to welcome them.
Hi, I'm Lisa Mills. I'm the Assistant Store Manager at the Park Ave branch, and I'm very happy to be here with you guys today to kind of help you guys out along your way. I know you guys very shortly will be joining the workforce, and your finances are going to drastically change. You're going to be responsible for paying a lot more bills than you might have now, and managing your finance and paying back possibly some of that student debt from your student loans. So how many of you guys actually have a checking account currently? Okay. And how many of you guys actually balance your checkbook with the check register? Okay. What are some of the ways, if anybody wants to share, how you do manage what's in your account currently? Who uses like the online banking mostly? Okay, a lot of online banking. So I don't know how familiar with the way things post to your account you guys are. So it's huge when you're trying to balance your finances and you start writing more checks out to know how things are going to post to your account, because when you go to your online banking and look at your account, it's going to be an accurate picture as to what the bank has currently. The bank does not know you might have written a check out for $600 to your landlord last week if it hasn't come in to get paid. So I kind of want to talk about the different channels that you use for your banking and how things post, and there's also time frames that you guys might not be aware of. And the biggest goal is to make sure that you guys have a good understanding so that you're not overdrawing your checking account and getting hit with overdraft fees. Because if any of you guys have ever had to pay one in the past, they're not very fun and they can get very expensive. So the online banking, I'm going to write this down for you guys. We have online and mobile banking. And the ATM. And then your store, the branch. So each one of these channels has a different cutoff time for when you make deposits. So the ATM, you need to get your deposit into an ATM by 8 p.m. The store is going to be open hours Monday through Friday. one of the only banks that's open on Sundays, but all your banks are open on Saturdays. I don't know if you guys are aware, but when you make a deposit on a Saturday, it's not considered a banking day. The Federal Reserve Bank is not open, so that deposit is really posting on Monday's day. So if there's the funds availability hold, which every bank has a different policy, your check, for instance, ours has next day availability. The first $100 is available that day, the remainder is the next day. So that check you deposit on Saturday, the next day availability is not going to be Sunday or Monday, it's going to be Tuesday. The online and mobile, these are 11 p.m. So you can't deposit, well, you can deposit mobilely now. You can actually take a picture of your check and deposit it from your cell phone. That would have to be done by 11 p.m. to show on that business day. The mobile banking will hold the entire check for one day. You won't have that $100 instant availability. The big thing with this is, so you guys realize you made a mistake because you're checking your mobile app, you're checking your online banking, and you realize you went into the negative. Uh-oh, I better move some money over. If it's after 11 p.m., you're on the next business day. Same thing, the ATM was the 8 p.m., so anything after that's the next day. Cash is always available right away. Everything else is going to have some type of hold on it. What kinds of questions do you guys have about that?
I never got the concept of depositing a check without handing it over.
So the mobile banking?
I've never done it, but it
You've never
makes
done
me curious.
it. Is.
You get a check, and now you swipe it in, you're still holding it. What's to prevent you from doing something silly with it?
Well,
Like trying again or something.
that's why we don't have instant availability on the mobile banking, because it is still a live check. But there is something that passed a long time ago. It was Check 21, which all checks are now converted into an image. That's what makes it the bank able to do it, because whether you deposit at the counter with somebody or from your phone, it's all going to get turned into an electronic image anyways and sent through the feds. But if you try to negotiate it twice, there's repercussions to that. That the bank's going to know. So don't get any ideas. But yeah, it is a live check.
So it probably keys off that number, or reads the number out of the scan.
Yeah, it creates an image because you have to do the front and the back. So it creates an image of the check, and that image will then go into the bank. We push it through the Federal Reserve Bank, and then it goes to the other bank to get collected. Yep.
Random question. So I recently wrote a check for October 28th. So I don't know how long ago. Someone tried to deposit that by the mobile app. What happened?
If somebody else tried to deposit your check, well, it has to go to an account. So if somebody else tried to negotiate your check, we know exactly who is doing it. So you'd have to.
Are you saying postdated? You made a check out for October 28th. If they deposited you, are you asking will those funds be made available to that person?
I don't care if it's available to them. I care when it's out of my account.
How will it come out of your account?
Yeah, if she, for example, she did it today, would it go through?
Yeah, it could, potentially. It's the maker's responsibility not to post-date checks, and a bank won't honor the post-date on a check, actually. We don't have to, so if it goes through, the bank won't take the liability for a post-dated check.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
So, let's say that you did overdraw your account. Does your bank have any flexibility, or like could you go there and ask them to waive the fees if that ever happens?
You can ask. Typically, the banks don't like to reverse a lot of fees unless there was a bank error. But obviously, we bank human. That's our motto, bank human. So we'll listen to the story. We try our best. As a bank, we really want to educate people to make sure that that doesn't happen. So we're going to, educate you on how it happened, what we can do to prevent additional overdrafts in the future. And yes, on occasion we will, sometimes show a little flexibility and try to help you guys out with some of what, recover some of what you might have gotten in fees. Another thing that if we have is savings overdraft. So as you guys are going out into the workforce, it might be a good idea to start your savings account. It's going to help with budgeting your money and come up with unexpected expenses. Because there's always things that come up that are unexpected, but one thing you can do is link the two accounts together. So if there's ever not enough in the checking, it can come out of the savings. Another important thing to know is how items post. So now you know how they come into the bank and what the cutoff times are. So if you make a deposit, a deposit credit at the end of the bank day. So after 11 p.m., between 11 and 12, your account kind of, that's when the computer kind of does all its magic, and the account kind of is almost like frozen. It's not really frozen, you'd be able to use it, but as far as things clearing, there's there's a lag on it right there. That's when everything actually clears the account. So what happens is the bank is going to put all of your credits first. So any deposits that came in that day will go in first. Any funds that holds from the funds availability will come off of that deposit. So if you deposit, say you start with $1,000 in your account, and then you deposit a $700 check. So it would show $1,700 in your account, and only $1,100 would be available because the check has not cleared. Now anything that you did for the day will come out of the account. So you've been swiping your card at Dunkin' Donuts in the morning, you went out to lunch with your friends in the afternoon, but your check that you wrote out that you weren't expecting to clear to your landlord came in that day. You will never see that in your online banking at any point during the day. Checks aren't a pending item that will show up. So that check is actually going to come out first. The way most banks do it is that we'll sort everything from highest to lowest. They don't go by real-time posting. Everything sits in a pending until the end of the banking day when things can clear. Now, Monday through Friday is not so hard to manage, but again, like the store, Saturday and Sunday are not bank days. So everything you do from Friday night all the way through Monday will show up posting to your account on Monday night. And they're all going to resort highest to lowest. That is where you can kind of run into some problems. So it's very important to keep a check register, really, to know what kind of checks you have out. And you guys might be thinking, who writes a check anymore these days? Everything's electronic. But as you add different bills, if you go to like a smaller credit union, say, to get a car loan, they're probably not going to take an electronic payment. A mortgage, I know I use a local small bank for my mortgage. They don't take an electronic payment. I have to physically write them a check every month. So there will be things that come up where you will write checks, and it's important to know what's going on with your account. Jerry's going to talk a little bit to you guys about credit. And, did you
I just had a question.
Yeah.
Are money orders handled the same way as checks, typically? Like on the bank end?
Yes. As far as the holds, yes. Yeah, it's like a check. Bank checks, money orders, everything, there's a delay on. The only thing that we do not hold is an ACH, so anything that comes in or out of the account automatically. So your direct deposit from payroll, as soon as that comes in, it's available. And the reason why some people think they come in, you get paid on Friday, they come in Thursday night, that is not available via Thursday night posting. What happens with payroll is they typically send a file to the bank, usually on Wednesday. On Thursday, we have that all queued up and ready to go because we know what's going where. And at 12:01, it magically, it's right in there. So, anybody else have any questions about the way things post, or? Yeah.
So if you're making a ton of purchases over the weekend, and you also make a deposit over the weekend, will the deposit occur first?
The deposit will occur first. If it's a cash deposit, the whole thing will be available for that night's posting.
Okay, and then if it wasn't a cash deposit, will it be available before on Monday?
Because you're already on Monday's day over the weekend. So after we close, after 11 p.m. on Friday, everything else is on Monday's business day. So if you deposited a check over the weekend, it's not going to be available because you deposited on Monday, next day, Tuesday, even though it was Saturday. Oh.
Question about bounced checks. So if someone gives you a check and you deposit it into your bank account, will the bank charge the person who deposited the check for that bounced check as well as the person who's writing the check? And if so, why is that? Why is the person who's depositing it getting penalized for
Depositing a bad check?
Yeah.
Because the banks actually get a fee for that, because we have to negotiate it through the Federal Reserve Bank, and when it comes back bad, it comes back through the feds. So the bank actually has to pay for that to be processed through the feds. So in turn, there's a fee that goes on to the customer.
Can't all go to the person writing the check, and that can be negotiated.
Because each bank, to negotiate on the feds, I believe has a fee.
Seems a little unfair to the person filing it.
Mm. And a check actually, I don't know if you guys realize, if a check is available the next business day, it has not cleared. It's just available. It takes up to a week for a check to come back bad. So if you guys are taking personal checks from people, be aware that that's always a possibility and know where your check is coming from.
Are there any special rules regarding out-of-state checks?
We do not have any. I know all your larger banks do not. I don't know if some of your local banks still, if it's 2 days. Some banks will do 2 days out of state, next day in state, but no. Everything with it being electronic really clears. It clears incredibly fast. So, any other questions? You guys had some good ones for me. All right. I'm going to turn it over to Jerry to talk a little bit about your credit and how that plays an important role on your future.
Hi, I'm Jerry. I can only reiterate 1,000 times over. I know you do not want to keep check registers. I know you don't. It's from the days of the dinosaurs, and I do understand that. But after all the information that Lisa just provided to you, I think if you don't keep a check register starting today, you will start to do one when you get $35 to $175 worth of overdraft fees. All right? I think you will actually say, okay, it's worth doing it. All right? Just one other thing that I wanted to add. When you swipe your card, okay, the merchant doesn't actually take the money out of your account at that moment, but they put a hold on it, right? That goes in the pending, right? So when you look at your smartphones and you see that your account balance is $600, but your available balance is $9.20, it's because you have been swiping away, okay? Which is great, except if you really have to buy something after that, there's no money there for you. Even though it says, well, I have, my account says I have $700, you just spent $690 and change on something else. Right? So I almost gave up trying to get young people to use check registers, but this is a good venue for it, so I'm going to vote for the paper one more time. Okay? So I believe that you are all post-grad students. I believe, I'm not sure if you all live on campus, if you live in apartments, I'm not sure what your basic lifestyles are, but life is going to be changing for all of you relatively soon. Right? You will be out of school, you'll be responsible for taking care of yourselves, your parents are not going to fill in the large, they're going to put the icing on the cake for you, but you're going to be responsible for baking the cake in a very short period of time. So there are some things that you really should start considering now, and that is your habits of how you spend money, how you manage your money, and what your plans are for the future. Right? You need to cut back on some things when you leave school. All right? You may not be able to go out every weekend partying. Okay, there may not be enough money to do that because you have rent, heat, lights, your parents won't pay your cell phone bills anymore. You're going to have to take care of all of this, so you're going to have to look at your lifestyle as a whole. I'm not trying to frighten you, but this is just really life, you know? Sometimes people, even though I'm sure if you are all in WPI, you are all close to brilliant, and you will probably wind up with excellent jobs, but you're going to start off on entry level. Some people have to take a part-time job to be able to manage all of those new expenses. Right? I encourage you all to save. Now, if anyone has TD Bank accounts, anyone in this room has TD Bank accounts, they were open with a savings account, a corresponding savings account that was free, along with the free checking, along with the free overdraft protection. All right? I encourage you to keep those savings accounts going, right? Because you put, yes, Jen?
Do you have to have both the checking and savings under the same, like, bank? Can't you, like, transfer, like, separate your savings somewhere else?
You can, you can. The only reason that I brought it up is I know that we do the campus, what is it, benefits. What happens is, you can do whatever you want. You can have 25 bank accounts, right? The only reason I brought it up is because the savings account, because you're a student, does not require any minimum balance. You also can utilize that for overdraft protection. So if you accidentally overdraft because you didn't keep your check register, then what will happen is they will take the money from the savings account, move it over to the checking account. You'll get no fees. But you can have 15 banks, whatever makes you happy. Somebody else have a question?
I used to have TD student, but I think something happened last year or 2 years ago. I've done that I don't have student checking anymore. I have a different checking.
Did you turn 25?
No.
Then our cards are on there. Would you just give one of us a call? And I'm going to pass these out for everybody. Just give one of us a call, and we'll look into your account when we go back to the office.
I don't think it really matters. I think the minimum is only 100, right?
That's a convenience checking account, yes. But I don't know why you're not a student account anymore if you're under 25.
But does it really matter?
If it's keeping a $100 balance doesn't matter, then no. And then the other thing is you really need to start a financial plan, and you need to start thinking about turning that nest egg into something that's going to produce better results. Right? I know Fidelity is coming next week or next month or whenever, but that is something that you really should sit down and talk to someone early on so that you get yourself prepared for what's coming on in the future. So I want to start talking about credit, right? Because this is something that is very difficult for recent grads, young people who are still in school, to get credit, because it's a catch-22. You have to have credit to get credit, but you can't get credit until you have credit. So you're kind of spinning around in circles. So there are a couple of avenues for you to try. And one is open up a secured credit card. Right? What you do is you apply for it. If you don't have derogatory credit, say you have no credit history, that's a good place for a secured credit card. The bank will say, yes, you can have credit up to $1,000. You then go into the bank, you can open up a new savings account, they put a hold on it, and then you use your credit card because the bank has the collateral. Then the bank is not going to lose money ever. All right? So they're holding your money in case you default. Today, it was very interesting. There was a young woman and her dad who came in. She was converting her student account to a convenience checking account because she had graduated. Her parents had put her on their credit card as an authorized signer. Right? I have never had a brand new college graduate get approved for a credit card, and she did. And to me, that's amazing because it usually doesn't happen because you have no credit history. So if you can finagle your parents to put you on as an authorized signer and live reasonably with it, it may help you in the future. All right? And maybe they're going to say no to that, but, you know. You have to start thinking about things in the future about who's going to use your credit score, right? And why is having a credit score important? Right? First of all, when you go to get a job, one of the things that your potential employer is going to ask you is if they have your permission to pull your credit report. Right? My guess is if you say no, you're probably not going to get onto the second interview. The reason that they do this is they do not want to hire people who are not fiscally responsible and mature enough to handle their own finances. Right? So starting out right away, it's really important. When you go to get your own apartment, right? Not something that your parents are on the lease with you, but you're on your own, your potential landlord is going to pull your credit report. If you have a negative credit history, he or she is not going to rent the apartment to you, or they're going to charge you more of a security deposit because you're a high risk. You want to get a loan, okay? When you have a bad credit history, you may get no loan at all. If you have a semi-bad history, what will happen is financial institutions will lend you money, but they're going to lend it to you at a higher rate because you're a credit risk. So the better your credit score, the lower your interest rate, okay? If you even can get a loan. Same thing happens with credit cards. Right? If you are a high risk, you're going to pay the maximum for your interest on a credit card, which is somewhere about 24%, all right, which is ludicrous. That's 25% more of your purchase. Right? So if you have a good credit score, a good credit history, it can go down to 9%. Right? So starting now is so important. Right from the very beginning. Okay? So these are the things that you need to look for and try. Yes, do you need to?
Yeah, I just have another question about
sure.
like doing a credit score check or whatever. I hear that affects your credit itself too. Like if you get
too many hits?
Yeah.
Yes.
How does that?
What happens is you want to buy a used car. Right? I don't know about the other financial institutions, but we will not finance an automobile loan if the automobile is older than 5 years. Right? But you could do a personal loan. So you come to my bank, you didn't like the answer you got, you went to this other bank, you went to another bank, you went to another bank. What that looks like, because it's not a person there saying, oh, well, he's looking to buy a car. Okay, everything is all done on the computers. So it looks as if you are trying to overextend your credit. You're trying to get a loan from TD Bank, you're trying to get a loan from Bank of America, you're trying to get a loan from Joe Schmo's Credit Union, and put you in over your head in debt. So that's why it has a negative credit score. Did I answer that, what you were looking for?
So if you get your credit score checked, like say for an apartment, a car, or something like that, like you decided you didn't want to go with that apartment or you didn't want to get that car, how does your credit score affected just by that single run of the system?
You may get a slight ding, but not enough to write home to your mother about. Okay, it could be a slight ding. What is to look more is don't try to get a number of credit products around the same time, because it appears that you don't have enough money to sustain your life, and so you're going to start living on credit. Right? So limit the amount of credit you actually go for. When you're going to, say you're going to buy a house, right, and you want to see where the best rate is, right, and you apply at one bank and you apply at another bank, you apply at another bank, all within a reasonable period of time, you know, it kind of makes sense that, but you should shop around before you do that. Don't go in and say, I want to apply for a mortgage, and then go down to the next bank and apply for a mortgage down there, and then over to the credit union to apply for a mortgage there. Do your shopping first, all right? Find out what your rates are going to be, what it's actually going to cost you over the life of the loan, how much your monthly payments are going to be. Do your homework before you actually apply for something.
I have two questions that were related to that. So you know how certain banks, like for example Discover, they'll give you like your credit score on every statement.
Right.
So is that they're like monthly checking it for you and providing it to you automatically? So one, does that affect?
As far as I know, no.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, as far as I know, they must have some kind of deal with Experian or I really don't know, but I'm going to say that it probably doesn't, because nobody in their right mind would want that card if they're going to have their credit scores dinged every month.
Okay. And then the second question was that, like, would your credit score be able to go up? Like, would you be able to do something to have it increase after, let's say, you're looking for an apartment and having your
Absolutely. And I'm going to try to get as much of that imparted to you during our time frame, but that is why I did do a printout for you of how to fix your credit score, how to avoid the pitfalls of it, what to do, who to contact, and I'll leave that for everybody to research and look over, okay? But there are definitely ways to be able to do it. So anything negative, like a late payment, a bankruptcy, a collections, and foreclosures, okay, it stays on your credit report for 7 years. But, that being said, if you have something, that you defaulted on something, I don't know, a credit card, all right, 5 years ago, all right, that does not impact your credit score as negatively as if it was something that happened within the last couple of months, because it's looked at, okay, they were young, they made a mistake, but since the last 5 years, they haven't, they really had their act together, they made their payments on time. So if you have screwed up somewhere along the line, don't despair, because after 7 years it's gone anyhow, but if you don't have reoccurring or something close, it's not that bad. Yes, dear.
How fully does it reflect on your credit score if you get denied for a credit card?
It depends on the reason why. All right? If you get denied because you have no credit history, there's nothing to be affected. You have no credit history. If you get declined because you defaulted on a credit card, you've had bank accounts closed at banks, you've got to start building and getting yourself back together again.
So you can't, so if you essentially have no credit history and you apply for a credit card and you get rejected, you don't end up with negative credit history?
There's no history, okay? But in a case like that, I do recommend a secured credit card, because that is a way for you to start to build your credit history. And when you have a credit card, make your payments, don't make your payments late, and if at all possible, pay the balance off every billing cycle, not only to save money on interest, but now you also appear, and rightfully so, that you are fiscally responsible and you're not spending more than you have. And that really helps as you go along to build your credit score. Yes, ma'am.
I've heard there's some percentage that you should only use of your total amount, like 30% or something like that. Is that true?
Have you ever heard that? No? Yeah.
So you don't want to overextend yourself, and they will look at that. So your credit card usage, you always want to keep it at 50% or less of what you have available to you. Yeah, 50, some say 40%, it's kind of, but as long as you're under the 50% mark, it's not going to hurt your score. So if you have 3 credit cards and they're all maxed out, they look at it as you're overextending yourself, and it won't hurt your credit score. It will actually bring it down, even if you're paying all of those cards on time. So.
What about if you call the credit card company to get your credit card and the amount of?
So you use the full balance?
No,
you want.
If you have $1,000 limit and you ask them because you're thinking of making a
bigger purchase.
Yeah, like, does that affect it?
No, because they're gonna, usually once you start paying on time, a lot of times they'll just start increasing it, because they want you to, credit card companies want you to use their card so that they can make money. But, yeah, they'll usually, if your payment history is good, then, yeah, and you know you're gonna be making a larger purchase, go ahead and call and ask. A lot of times they will increase your limit, or they'll just do it automatically if you pay on time.
Thanks, Lisa. So before, well, what this material has here for you, I recommend that you do it right away. All right, you are entitled to a free credit report annually. It is not, you will not get your credit score, all right, but what you will get is a history of everything that you have. Right? In today's technological environment that we are in, for every wonderful new application, there are a number of people who are able to figure out how to screw that all up for us and take your identity, take your social security, your birth date, your mother's maiden name, whatever you have. There is always somebody, when they would rob trains, when they first had trains, they had train robbers. All right, somebody is always going to figure out a way to try to get your money, to try to get what belongs to you. So there, in this packet here, you just go online, you ask for your credit report, you will see everything that is on there, right? If you find that there are things on there that you have not done, there are ways to go about getting that corrected, okay? This packet also, beware of credit repair scams, all right? Hopefully you guys will never get to this. You know, you're inundated with bills. You're living a little too large for yourselves at the moment, maybe out of necessity. You know, you have to live a little bit too large, right? So you go to a credit repair website. I think they even have brick and mortar, don't they, that you can go to? All right, and that can be very dangerous because they may say to you, well, don't pay your bill for the, and I'm not saying all of them do this, I'm not. This is advice that I have heard from a couple of customers. They told me not to pay my mortgage for the next 2 months so that I can renegotiate my interest rate. Right? That may very well could happen, but what it's going to show is that you're in default on paying your mortgage. Right? So make sure that you go to somebody that you are sure is very reputable. Right? Don't go searching online. Okay, the credit bureau does not decide if you're going to get credit or not. All they do is report back to whomever has requested your credit score. It's the institution, it's the organization that is going to determine it, but it's definitely going to be determined on that. Okay? There's a whole bunch of information in here, how to opt out of having people solicit you. And so, do we have any questions about credit at the moment? Yes, sir.
So this is a point on credit. I had a question about the emergency points. I've heard everything from 3 months of expenses to 2 years of expenses set aside in case of emergency. Do you have a recommendation?
An emergency amount? Yeah, I would have as much as I possibly could. All right? I think that I will give you my personal situation. My financial advisor told me to keep 2 years of income liquid and not invest more than 2 years of my liquid assets, all right? Because, who knows, life happens. You know, you don't want to have to start selling off your stocks when the market is really low because you're going to get a double whammy. That's not always possible. I'm in a whole different place, kids. I'm on my way out the door. You're on your way in the door. So I have the ability to be able to do that, and you will too as time goes on. So, anybody else? I want to wind it up with one other portion that may or may not help you as you go out into the business world. And again, as I have said before, your expenses, you're probably all going to be in a little culture shock when it happens, because all that responsibility is on you. So one of the programs that I found on here is building a budget for two. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean a spouse. It doesn't necessarily mean your love of your life, your reason for living. It could be, I need to get a roommate because there's no way that I am going to be able to handle this all by myself. And so some of the things that you really need to do if you choose to have a roommate is make sure you get a plan in place before you move in together. Don't sort it out after you've moved in together, all right? Because one of you is going to get stuck with the utility bill, somebody else is going to get stuck with the telephone. Well, nobody in the world has a telephone anymore. Somebody's going to put the security deposit down, and your dog eats the windowsills, and then you decide to leave. Now that person's lost the security deposit. All right, so these are some of the things that I suggest that you do. All right, you are going to have to figure out a budget. What is it going to cost you to live together in this apartment, home, house, whatever you guys decide to do? And I guess I would say that you would split it halfway down the middle. I think that's the best way to do it. When my daughter was in school, somebody paid the electric bill, somebody paid the heating bill. My daughter wound up with about $900 of heating bills that didn't get paid because the other person didn't do it. So I would suggest that that's not how you divvy up your expenses. Even if you decide that you're going to open up a household account, you both put the exact same amount of money in based on your budget and pay all your bills from that. It will certainly keep everybody from wanting to kill their roommate if you do that. Somebody's going to be the person who's going to be in charge, all right? I would say the person who is most detail-oriented would be the person that should do that, who's actually going to keep records of everything that's going on. You have to make some ground rules, all right? If you decide to open up a joint account, nobody pays bills other than online, so you won't need a debit card, but the ground rules are, this is only for household expenses. If you need that pair of shoes so badly, you take it out of your own account, all right? If you want to go to Best Buy and you just have to have that brand new iPhone 60 or whatever the heck it is, don't take it out of the household account because you're going to have issues, okay? And you really have to work together with your roommates, be it one roommate or 4 roommates. It will just make your transition a lot easier. Yes, dear.
Can I say something about that? This is kind of random. So I like to find landlords from individual leases for you, so I just pay my own, and I don't worry at all about roommates, but that also means you cannot control who your roommate is.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
She has, finds landlords that have individual leases.
For each person?
Yes.
And the landlord does this? Well, if you can get your landlord to do that, that's a really good deal, because if you're not responsible for what's gone on with your roommates, you only have to be responsible for your own stuff.
But those landlords, so I have 2 that they live there too?
Well, I think that if I was going to be a landlord, I would live there too. All right. I rented my house out for a couple of years, but I rented it to someone that I knew because I knew that they were not going to destroy my home. I knew that they were actually going to pay me the rent. When they told me that they were moving, I put my house up on the market because I did not want, and I sold my home because I did not want to be a landlord. But that's just me. I don't want the headaches. Do we have any other questions for either Lisa or I? Okay. Well, thank you. It was really, really nice to do a financial literacy seminar with people who were genuinely interested. Sometimes these are mandated, and why am I listening to this lady telling me this stuff? So it was so nice to have people who were genuinely concerned about their future. And I think somebody handed, did somebody hand? Oh, what a girl, huh? All right, have fun, go back to school.